Good morning. Good morning. I'll tell you what, I'm just going to make sure that I can see my Clubhouse family. Here we are, Familam. Good morning, Matt. And also the fact that we are pretty much live everywhere else as well. It's taken me a couple of minutes this morning. We're here at 5 past, and I just want to say thank you. Thank you to James. Thank you to Christian. Thank you to Julian. Thank you to Tony, and thank you to Matt. I want to say thank you to everybody else as well as myself. And why do I want to say thank you to myself? Well, I'll tell you what, I have shown up for myself this weekend. I showed up for myself this weekend after James set a period, a set of things in motion that created a period of time in my life that has changed, well, pretty much everything. Look, I believe that gaining clarity, which is what we're talking about, right? I'm going to cut straight to the middle of this, is really important. And as a coach, as a therapist, as a SENDCO, as a human, as a person that's also disabled, as somebody who hasn't had it easy, I've come from a difficult background, Romani descent, mixed heritage, not great opportunities, no money, wasn't expected to do anything, wasn't even expected to leave home, looked after my mum. I was a young carer from birth, and I'm disabled myself. Now, all of that sounds like a sob story, doesn't it? But it isn't. Because as a result of all of that, I am everything that I've ever been through. Everything I am today is everything I've ever been through. And everything I've ever grown through. And they're one and the same thing. I tried very early in my life to avoid discomfort or disequilibrium. And whilst being in the extremes of those positions is challenging, it's also necessary. It is. Somebody said to me this morning, well, the problem that I've got is that you've disrupted my sleep pattern. And as a direct result of you expecting me or requesting me or suggesting that I am available for you at 5 o'clock in the morning, I had to make some decisions about how I behaved, because I can no longer carry on with the practices that I was that I've embarked upon since the age of being able to legally imbibe alcohol, in order that I can be where you need me to be at 5 in the morning. So as much as I am now without said product, alcohol being it, for 7 days, this is the first time since the age of consent that has been the case. So it is your doing. So, well, it's my fault and your doing that I made the suggestion that they could be invited to spend some time with me at 5 o'clock when I'm working in the morning. And now they are doing. So becoming clear, having a crystal clear idea about what we want is very important. But you know what's more important is, once we've identified what we want, is to talk about it. Sounds a bit mad. It sounds a bit mad. But once we have thought about it and we've recognised it and we've talked about it, which we did, I needed people to be around early. Right? I did. In order that the day can start and I can give out some direction before it. And mine starts at the beginning of work. Right? And the working day starts at the front end of the day. And I acknowledged that I needed that. And then I discussed a way around it. And we made a plan. And we experimented on how to achieve our goals. We would commit to a plan that helped us facilitate them. And we practiced that plan. We experimented that plan. And we've been meeting both mornings and evenings. And I struggle at 6 p.m. I do. I struggle at 6 p.m. I've already been concentrating from 4 a.m. That's 14 hours. And I'm resilient. But I have to come to the point where I realize that maybe my resilience is not my extent. I cannot facilitate that length of time physically at the moment, maybe never. And so something had to change. So I changed. And interestingly, now she's changing. And I'm not suggesting that I was to fault or she was to fault, because actually it's both our doing and it's both our reasoning. But the process of it was really important. Really important. And becoming crystal clear is the process. And we can't gain clarity except we go through the thinking. So next time something doesn't happen that you want to, or something doesn't pan out the way that you intended, think about whether you have actually gained clarity, whether you are becoming crystal clear through the product of your thinking and, of course, your acting. Because thinking is the being or the becoming or the thinking about the doing, the pre-contemplative action, the thing we do before we do it, the thinking we do before we do it, the action we do to facilitate the thinking of the thing before we do it, the getting up and having a morning meeting at 5 o'clock, because actually after that comes the routine, the rituals, the structures that go with the working day. Putting that cart behind the horse, not ahead of it. How did we get there? Well, I've already kind of summarized it, but we thought about what we were doing and reflected on why it wasn't working, and then defined what it was that we wanted to achieve, which was, I need to express my soul before I go out to my job, in order that the jobs can be done from that soul reflection and that expression of the needs and necessaries that the business requires that day. And then set those goals. We would like this by then. We will check this by then. We will reflect this by then. And what these strengths and relative challenges were with that plan. Not sure you're going to be able to see staff at 5 a.m. and at 6 p.m. and be willing to be adaptable. I tried the 6 p.m. and I'm perfectly happy to do that, but what that meant was I had to let go of 2 morning meetings, and some people wanted those morning meetings because they found that their routine and structure emerged once they made the decision to gain clarity on the goals and their intentions for the outcomes they were creating. And our communication and action steps within that all have to involve our truest, most clarified intentions, in order that that crystal clear action can be facilitated. Now, I use a myriad, loads of ways to think about things, but one of them is De Bono. And if anyone's ever heard of De Bono, brilliant. If you haven't, go look him up. It's the thinking, 6-hat thinking process. Now, it's really easy. One of the earliest thinking processes, even before the 7 habits of highly effective people, like way before. We're talking about Kolb and mind mapping, Tony Buzan period. So the 80s, here we are, in the 80s, in the 90s, De Bono, into the noughties, 6-hat thinking, where we consider how people are thinking and feeling in that process of alchemizing our intentions and our goals and our actions together as a team. Because when we're thinking about those things, I feel that it gives clarity to what angle somebody might be coming from. Testing that understanding about how somebody is expressing. and where they're coming from. Everybody thinks differently, but we all think in some kind of general style, and it goes along with our learning style. And so we can look at all sorts of perspectives concurrently at the same time, and then actually we can see why people come to different viewpoints given the same scenario or the same problem or the same goal or the same intention. They've put it into colours, and I like this. So you can imagine taking a hat off and putting a hat on, and wearing my hat, and wearing my white hat or my black hat or my blue hat or my red hat. We'll go on, my green hat. And the white hat, which I'm sure you can imagine now, maybe a peaked cap, a white one, says that that's all about the data. What are the facts of the situation? Well, the facts were of my situation that it's difficult to be up at 4 and also up at 6 p.m. and be capable at both ends. And that the figures were that there weren't as many of us in the evenings available as there was in the mornings. And then when we analysed that, we realised that actually there was some gaps really in a couple of evenings a week. And what could we do about that? Asking some neutral questions about what we could do about the problem in hand. White hat thinking. Now, moving on to red hat is the stuff that these processes, or sorry, these problems evoke, the feelings and the emotions, yeah? And when somebody is thinking in red hat thinking, and maybe they will be invited in this process to say, hang on, let's just think about this in a red hat way, together or separately. Well, the emotions around this, let's just really clarify what those emotions are, sharing those gut reactions and acknowledging how that feels for each other. I was talking with my team about medical assistance in death the other day, understanding how those emotions might be influencing that thinking and decision making, which it definitely does when we're talking about medically assisted death in disabled people. Definitely. That red hat thinking is very easy to evoke in that situation, but it's also important with every situation. Black hat thinking, caution and critical thinking, identifying the risks and the problems ahead. Having that black hat thinking, being cautious and critical, doesn't mean that we're trying to find flaws or make potential issues happen, but actually thinking about worst case scenarios, and that those plans that we have are risk managed and are realistic. And if they're not, then putting in the support and the action steps necessary to make them so, shoring those up. So that black hat thinking, terribly important. Almost when you think about the black bowler hat, and that's what the de Bono thought about, the black bowler hat of the businessman. And what are the risks and the cautions here? Perfect, really, for that description. And the yellow hat thinking, I know what you're thinking. I don't know. What do you think of when you think of yellow? I think of sunshine. Yeah. The optimism and benefits, what the strengths and various challenges are, and the advantages, actually, not the challenges, rather. The advantages, what are the best case scenarios? Well, the best case scenario is that everybody comes to morning meeting and I don't have to stay up and be processing at 6 p.m. But if I do, I have to, right? And that's the best case scenario. One might be having a couple of evenings and not all mornings. And that was the other one that we went to. Focusing on the opportunities now to achieve them. That yellow hat optimistic thinking. We only have 2 more to go. So you can see how easy it is really to think quite quickly around the logic, white, the red, the feeling, the black, the critical or the risk management. Yellow, optimism. Green, what's green? Well, new, isn't it? New, creative and new ideas, the new innovative ideas, the things that haven't been done before, the outside of the box, the unconventional approaches, the free thinking, brainstorming, clarifying. I do it with there we go, mind mapping. There's my mind map of today, actually. Of today. And then the final one, process and control. the Monday mornings, the meetings, the 5 a.m.s, the 6 p.m.s, the how do we manage focus within that time? How do I manage to think things through and have my outcomes? Well, this is one of those processes. This is a control process for alchemizing the intention of my words. I defined my agenda Monday morning at 6 a.m. Although today it's a bank holiday, so we've gone for the 8, which is usually our Saturday morning. 7 p.m. in inclusion this evening. I'm very excited. Please be in inclusion this evening. And 8 a.m. on a Saturday in Belonging in Business, which is now being held in MJ's house as well. So MJ's house on a Monday morning and a Monday night inclusion, and on a Saturday morning then MJ's house again. So we're in MJ's and then we visit inclusion. Seems easier, doesn't it? 8 o'clock today. We define the agenda and set out those important objectives. What are we objectifying? What are our objectives today? Different meaning of the same word. Well, words are hard, aren't they? We're gaining clarity. There we go. Clarity about what we're trying to say. The right words in the right way. In a blue hat thinking, you would summarize the key points and the decisions made during the session. So you can have structured 6 hat thinking sessions where you explore systematically each perspective about one problem. What's the white hat thinking of this? What's the red hat thinking of this? You can do parallel thinking sessions where everybody thinks about the same hat at the same time and comes up with the type of thinking, a unified approach to that kind of thinking, so you know what the group think is. And then role playing literally with 6 hats, and I did this so many times. I even got them to colour in their own hats at one point. Different hats at different times to promote those diverse viewpoints and reducing conflicts and also exploring conflicts. Yeah, because why? Well, thinking in an imaginative way and in an alternative way to your own preferred style of thinking grows your thinking style. It leads to enhanced creativity and improves our decision making and makes our collaboration so much more effective. So look, I am really, really grateful to everybody that has been part of this journey, because we've only just got started. I've just been given an award. I've just got the Doom of Death bar. I don't know whether you have the 2024 People Choice Award for Women Changing the World nonprofit. And we are a global entrepreneur creator. That's what we are. Inclusion is the global entrepreneurator. Entrepreneurator. That's a new word. But we are. That's what we are. And we are leading the way in the UK for creating a system that will put disabled people to work. And every person, actually, in the universe, aliens as well, if they come and visit, I'll be placing them within the workforce. The new evolved human alien workforce, but I will be placing them in the workforce. And we'll be facilitating their way to becoming crystal clear about their intention. And if you're an alien and you're on Earth, it's a good idea to have an intention. You've come a long way without an intention. I think you've got one. I'd like to clarify it. And once we've done that, then we can harness the potential of the organizational structure you are within. Yeah, your system. Because I'm a systems thinker. In fact, I'm an ecological systems thinker. In fact, Broppenbrenner said that that's the only way to think about a person, is in its system. And inclusion will be raising up not just the first 100 entrepreneurs, but the first million, the first billion, the first trillion entrepreneurs. Because they're ultra, so why not make bazillions of them? And it's the only way. Okay. And I'll tell you for why. Because while ever there are women in countries who can only rent land and yet the man next door can buy it. We have a job to do, and it's called inclusion. And Dr. Tererai Trent and I, and Oprah Winfrey, and Sarah Ferguson, and Uncle Tom Cobley and all, we're going to get on it. I've been at it for a number of years, but I'll be honest, the power of the collective is much more powerful than I can ever imagine. But I'll tell you this, Tererai Trent, Dr. Tererai Trent, was not unsurprised when Oprah Winfrey took up her challenge and donated £1.5 million for the opening of her first school. Not surprised. Why? Because her intention was clear. She was crystal clear in her becoming, in the becoming of her people and in their emancipation. And when your goal is attached to a larger thing than you, then the energy behind it is way, way, way more than you can ever envisage. So I want to say thank you, because the first disabled entrepreneur is due to be crowned on the 4th of July, Independence Day. Interestingly, the first day of the rest of our lives and the first day of a new economy and a new outlook. And I want to be crystal clear about my intentions, about inclusion's intentions, about the intentions for inclusion, by inclusion, because of the need for inclusion. And if I haven't made myself clear yet, then really I'm in the wrong room, doing the wrong job in the wrong way. And I don't believe that's the case. I believe that on Saturday I was in the right room, doing the right job in the right way for the right reasons. And that rings louder than anything else. So I'm almost at the past, and it's my intention not to take up any more than 2% of your day with my utterings, because, you know, many of you guys are better than 15 minutes. It's okay for your normal commoner garden human, but 30 minutes, really, you're really very clear about your intention to extend yourself outside of your comfort zone. And let's remember that it is that action that creates the outcome, the clarity, and the mess in the middle gets unfurled into that crystal clear intention through the alchemy of the action, the repeated action and the belief set, and moving through that cycle of assessment, reflection, action, intention, and then co-creation. And I say co-creation, really important part of that. So I believe we're better together. I believe we have to be playing a good game, a better game than we've been playing, and a game that focuses on the global intentions of entrepreneurship for everyone, in order that everyone has a chance for a seat, a space, a voice, a moment in time where they are seen, heard and valued, in order that their dreams, hopes and aspirations can be met through the power of their alchemied intention. So by thinking about what somebody wants, by clarifying what they want. Dr. Trent was asked what were her dreams. And then she was told that they were possible. She went home and said to her mum, this person has told me my dreams are possible. And her mum said, well, I'll tell you what then, write them down. Write them down and bury them. The same word for bury is the same word for plant. And so she planted her dreams and then set out with their intention, gaining that crystal clear clarity. And her outcomes were obvious. Look, there are examples on Clubhouse of us doing that, and Hussein's in the room. You know, we raised money for a farm in Uganda, and those 101 children, their lives have been changed forever, and many, many more after that. Our crystal clear intention was that that £10,000 was raised. And believe me, I stated my intention that morning when we raised money on Clubhouse for a farm as a result of Hussein and Pete Cohen and lots of millions of other people. Not millions, but you know. We had the intention to achieve that goal through our crystal clear intentions, outcomes, and alchemized togetherness. That's what we did together, because we're better together. So the first disabled entrepreneur is going to be awarded on the 4th of July. And from that, we move forward to the rest of the world. And for that, I'm essentially, eternally and completely grateful to James for stepping up and bothering his backside to say thank you. Because it's in that celebration of our intention that we come together and alchemize just what we need with crystal clear, with clarity that's more, well, greater than ever before, because it is through that the power of togetherness is achieved. I tell you, I am so grateful for all of you, and I want to say thank you for the bank holiday, thank you for the weekend, and thank you for my award, and thank you, Dr. Trent. I'm just going to say this publicly online, so all over the world. Thank you to Dr. Trent for her warm welcome. Thank you to Sarah for being just a delightful, beautiful human that got a hold of my hands and looked deep into my eyes and spoke to me, not just in that time, but later on as well. And then we all danced together, and that's just, well, it's magical. So thank you, and I'm gonna stop this stream. Have a great day, everybody.